honestly, where did we lose this game? I think it was just a conglomeration of mispositioning. Welcome back, everybody, to Random Thoughts, coming to you today with another Phobies game breakdown. This was actually a loss that I just had a few minutes ago on the live stream, which, by the way, if you want to see some live Phobies action, come on by my Twitch channel, RTChompGG, over on, you guessed it, Twitch. You can see some live Phobies action as well as other games. And by the way, if you want to join the Discord, Art Grant for Random Thoughts, down below you can see it in this YouTube description. We are trying to get some tournaments and events up and off the ground, but we need people to compete. So come on in, join the fun. Without much further ado, let's jump into the game. Now, like I said, I just played this game, but I'm not clear just yet where things actually went off the rails. Now, there's a few different things, and I want to pause here because we have to talk about the opener. There's a few different things that I know I did wrong, especially in hindsight. But I don't know if it was a culmination of a lot of things or if there was one egregious error or exactly what did it. Now, something that could be considered an egregious error is actually this opener. Taking the center point is much more dangerous than you might think. So we have lights out in the current rotation, which allows you to do something similar as player one. You can just fly over with either a murder fly, a Maggie, whatever. Cheap flyer with 2 movement to get a neutral point. Here, you can do the same thing. The problem is, on this map, your opponent will respond on turn 2 with 6 keys. So if their own murder fly is a high enough level, and their jar is a high enough level, they could go murder fly into jar and blow up your murder fly. Alternatively, if you have a similar response, it's possible your murder fly is vulnerable. Now, given this particular block here, this obstacle, it makes it more challenging. It reduces the amount of phobies that can actually do this, but it is still a possibility, so keep that in mind. We ended up not getting punished by it, but we'll see how this goes. Well, we know how it goes. So we do get meatballed here. It's not that big a deal. Now, I pointed this out when it was live. This was a good play by our opponent putting the cowbell here. Otherwise, we just kill their murder fly for free. We meatball it, we hit it with a regular attack, and bye-bye murder fly. Now, would we have been trading them? Probably. But they did open us up or allow us to connect with their panic points. Now, we're giving up the middle one. But we do have the majority of them, and because of this Gin Sting, the way it's positioned, now we can blow up whatever's in the middle. They can advance, and I believe that's what they did. Yeah, they marched the cowbell through, they whack Gin Sting, they move the murder fly up. Now, it does heal here, although it's a basic attack. So it's not in serious danger, but it is, you know, it's vulnerable. Actually, this thing healed up pretty damn far. And by healed up, I mean it never took any damage, so we didn't have to worry about it. I had the meatball on the brain of, like, the play that I thought was going to happen, even though I knew it didn't happen. It happens sometimes. So anyway, we end up hitting them with some good old-fashioned B action. Now, I was hell-bent on trying and remove this murder fly initially. Instead, we went with what I think was the first set of mistakes. Erratic. Now, what we could have done is we hit them with Bs. So this murder fly, it's not letting me click on it. There we go. Murder fly is down to 363. We cannot reach it with anything but a jar right now. If we hit it with the jar, it's not going to kill it, which is why I elected to do something bigger. Now, what I've found on big maps is you actually don't want to commit to a big play early on. Many of the big plays, we're talking your 6, 7, 8, 9 key units, have maybe not an obvious counterplay, but let's throw out something that you're going to see in a little while in Hevo 3.0. Hevo's a mechanical unit. A lot of people seem to have erratic or answers to mechanical units, whatever electrical phobia. So if you elect to drop a Hevo on the board and you don't immediately take an enormous advantage as a result, you end up in a position where your opponent has plenty of time to not only counteract your stuff, but then present their own big threat that you may not have enough remaining keys to combat. So, is erratic in that category? For me, no. I think erratic is good enough, but on this map, it's very difficult to make erratic work. Reasons why I can't use Cerberus for 1,000? True, Luffy. You have to drop this is kind of an aside, apart from this game, but you have to drop big key units at a late enough stage in the game where your opponent is forced to choose with, I have to answer this, but I can't quite answer. Or if I answer this, I can't address the rest of the stuff. You need to make them make a decision. If it's just arbitrary big phobie, it's probably not good enough. But back to this game, I went with erratic because I think a lot of things end up clustering here. I was hoping in the back and forth with reclaiming the center point, we could get some chains going or force them off of it. We could stick them on the stim pad. I thought it would work out, but because of this line of sight stuff, all of these obstacles, this map kind of emphasizes Gravedigger. And to a degree, Mount Crushmore, who I don't have, but you can definitely set up plays where it's, oh, well, I break one of these, suddenly I have line of sight where you didn't think I was going to, and I blow up your world. We were trying to set that up, but it never materialized. Yeah, lobbing is a better option here. Klepto's obviously real strong here. Spud would probably be fine. I'm not as big of a fan of Unbearable on this map. And the reason for that is the low mobility. It can make it very difficult because you have to go all the way around to, say, deal with this point. Or if you're down here, all the way around to deal with this point. So once you get into the middle, you're in the middle. So here's where a set of mistakes start happening. You'll see, as I mentioned Gravedigger earlier. So we set up this. I think this is fine. Get this open so that we can get a straight shot running to the middle with 1 keys. So that we can get stuff on the point more efficiently. Our opponent, because of their setup, once we clear out their 1 keys, they're going to be forced to try and invest higher key units to reclaim the middle, which hopefully we can then light up and trade effectively. Now, they end up clearing out the cat. Shocker, I know. But we're trading effectively at this point, or efficiently at this point. They can't kill Ginsting yet, but they are, and this is where things start to turn for the worse. They have nearly all the points. The only one that's unclaimed by them is this bottom one with cat, and we can't leave the cat there if we want it to live, which we kind of do. So we set this up, but this doesn't matter, realistically. I know there's other stuff going on, but this thing, and I'll pause, Quagmire is a mountain of health. We did hit it once with the cat, that's why it's not full health. And it has the heal, so like this attack did literally nothing. They're just going to step on the point, and they're at full health. It possibly would have been better off just to leave the cat there, let it die. Instead, I was hoping we could push some damage on it, but we really didn't. We're tying up 5 keys with 4, but we're not accomplishing anything down here, and this panic point will come back to haunt us later on. Now, as far as the rest of the action, basically we're just clearing things out. We're able to remove their cowbell, we remove their murder wing, we remove their cat. Now, we are still in a rough position from this perspective. We're still down a ton of panic points, and we're going to give up another one shortly. What we possibly should have done here, because we go up to 8 keys, that means we have 3 remaining. We could have gone Droney just to claim this point, and then Droney can go up here. There were several points during the game where chat correctly pointed out that we could have gone Droney, but I think this would have been, out of all of them, was probably one of the best ones, as opposed to later points in the game. Because 1, 2, 3, and then the second move puts us here. We're immediately stemming the bleeding. We know they're going to reclaim this point, and there's no way we can kill it, so we're going to have to wait another turn. We don't want to dive the middle, but we could have. So remember, we had 3 keys. We could have gone Droney here, and then sent a 1 key here. Okay, they kill it with this. They have nothing that can get on the point. Because if they hit it, any 1 key, as long as we put a 1 key here that was not going to die in one shot, aka don't put a wall here, they would have to kill it and then what, run the slime up there? They're not going to do that. And Stabby and Unbearable can't get there. So we'd be controlling, at least for 1 turn, we wouldn't take damage on our turn, and we take way less damage on their turn. Instead, we end up taking a ton. So, more mistakes. In what they answered with, it was actually pretty scary. Now, we're up to 8 keys. Their Barzilla ends up sticking around, spoiler alert, to the end of the game. This is an 8-key unit that is pretty solid. The biggest thing is just the mountain, absolute mountain of hit points that this has. It is very difficult to kill this thing because it can tank so many hits. Because of the lack of our lob, we don't have any effective way right now to actually deal damage to this thing. Because we're going to have to expose whatever phobie we want to use every time. Now, this turn, I was trying to reposition. Remember, we could have had a Droney up here. Now, maybe if Droney was there, they would have sent Barzilla up there, but I doubt it. But we could have had a Droney here, and we could have had this point already capped. So we'd still have the majority of the panic points at this stage going into this Barzilla turn. So our opponent answers with Erratic, and naturally they're trying to push us, shoo us away from this top panic point. Definitely makes sense. Since they've claimed the bottom one, I elected to move Jin Sting down here to try and soften this thing up. We gave up our Murder Wing for no purpose. This did not have to happen. So if we go back a turn, the Murder Wing was here. We needed to move it where Clinico was, aka this point just below the heart, because then it would not be able to get targeted by this Barzilla. We lost the Murder Wing for literally no purpose. It did nothing other than, okay, Barzilla gets hit once by Erratic. Woo. Who cares? So down here, we try and soften this thing up. We don't have enough damage to actually kill it. If we pop out a jar, it wouldn't get there. I think we leave it with like 500 health. So since we had 12 keys banked, I elected to go for Hevo 3.0. Remember, I was telling you he's going to show up. And the jar came out anyway because we were going to get value out of it. So we softened this thing up even further, so that way we can ensure we get it next turn. We already had the Clinico, so I was hoping that we could lean on Hevo, tanking some hits, and then healing it with Clinico, and then dealing with what we have. Now, should we have gone this? Probably not. I think we would have likely been better off, say... So remember, we had 12 keys. Go jar plus Cyclops or something. We're doing mostly the same damage. We can still heal the Cyclops. It has just as much mobility. But we're banking the extra keys so that we could get something else. So we have 5 now. Instead of 9, we'd have 9 keys now. So would that be better off? I think getting the extra phobies might have been better. I'm not sure. But regardless, we ended up with Hevo. I don't think it was terrible. But our opponent is creeping Erratic around the top. Just as another aside, going Hevo into Erratic, not great. Is it the end of the world? No. One other mistake I want to point out while we're on the topic of lots of mistakes is this Gravedigger. So remember earlier I was saying that you can break these sight lines or create sight lines by breaking these obstacles? This is one of the problems. If this Gravedigger was up here, we wouldn't kill this Barzilla, but we could lay into it. So we'd hit it twice with this for almost 1,000, 1,100, and another 4, so like 1,500, 1,600 or so, and then probably lose something on the counter hit. So it may not have been a great play, but since this is not really in position at all, now we could move it here and break one of these. But we have this Gravedigger that is kind of out of position for a lot of the game. In this particular instance, I don't know that there was anything we could have done with it that would have been beneficial, because we just don't have the damage here. Like, I think we would have gotten up to maybe 2,000. But it's possible. I'd have to, like, if we actually count this up, we can just pause the game and count it up. So we hit it once with this, which is 517. 8. So 968 plus the 5, so we'll say 14, plus another 3 if we round up, 17, plus 4 here, because we wouldn't actually be able to get this in range. But assuming this was even in range, we still wouldn't get it. So we weren't going to kill the Barzilla, given its mountain of hit points. Instead, we end up going for this to kill it. We reclaim one of the points. Fun fact, Hevo 3.0 is the same base damage as Hevo, not counting the fire. Interesting, I didn't know that. So at this stage, we're not in a great spot. They put a ton of damage on our heart effectively for free for several turns. Now, they could have stayed and killed our... With the Barzilla, they could have killed the Gravedigger. I'm not real sure why they didn't, because... Well, it had 1,400 health. I guess they figured, yeah, that we could have got it. We could have got it. That's why they didn't stay. Because we could have Hevoed twice, or even Hevoed once, hit it with Jar a couple times, and then Jin Sting, and it would have got it. So we had popped out this on the last turn, so because we knew that the landmine was going to come across and recap this point. Again, free damage for them. Now, this was a little weird. I don't know that this was worth it. I was hell-bent on making this Gravedigger play. So we open it up so that we can get a bunch of damage on this. We do end up killing the Stabby without having to suffer the dimensional drawback, which is good, on top of the ability for us to move the Hevo out of range of Erratic. Now, we don't get to reclaim any of the panic points, and obviously the Gravedigger is going to eat it, which you'll see momentarily. So we're still under pressure, and they still have an enormous set of phobies. Like, they have a very healthy Erratic. By very healthy, I'm pretty sure this is full health. They have a fairly healthy Barzilla. Granted, it's low, but they can just heal it soon. They now bring out Cerberus. Now, you would think we have more mobility than most of their team. We can get around it, but they can just kind of bully us, because in order to kill anything on their team, we have to commit to it. So what we really need to do is swing one way or the other. The problem with that plan is that we don't have a good way to claim the panic points. So what I think we needed to do here was kind of just dive Erratic. This might have been okay. There is a mistake that I make with Jin Sting in a moment, but I don't know that this was worth it. But here's the one mistake I want to point out. We'll let the rest of the turn advance. So we're just trying to stay out of Erratic range, but I think maybe diving Erratic and trying to kill it, because they're not going to one-shot this. And if we move everything up, maybe we had a chance to. I think we probably can't get to their Erratic with the Erratic. And maybe this ultimately was our best line. And to be honest, at this point, I felt kind of okay, because I thought we could beat up Cerberus. The problem here is I think we needed Hevo on the stim pad instead of Erratic. Why? Erratic is just not as mobile. And as you'll see on the next turn, they walk Cerberus up, and then we can't get away from it. Whereas if Erratic was still up here and Hevo was on the stim, we can hit Cerberus and walk away. Especially, we can walk away down here and not be hindered by the fact that there's line of sight. We're away from Erratic, and we can still try and kite Cerberus. So they end up healing the Barzilla here, as expected. But here's the mistake with Jin Sting. This mistake with Jin Sting, we shouldn't have hit it twice. It doesn't do anything. We're not going to push enough damage to kill it. So what we should have done was hit it once and then move it here south of the heart. Because what they could have done, we gave them an option here. They elected not to take it, but we gave them the option that they could have just walked down with Cerberus and killed Jin Sting. And there was no need to give them that opportunity. So what we ended up doing was I just sent AWOL in to be the sacrificial lamb, recap the point. And because of... So again, our positioning mistake with Erratic means that now we pull Hevo back here. They can advance Erratic completely uncontested. There is no way we can collapse back on Erratic, move up north, and kill it. Because we're so far back. And we have to be, because if we left Erratic on the point, we're dead. And if we left any of these further advanced, Erratic hits them, chains, and we possibly lose something. Even though this has 1,700 health, it's going to get halved by Erratic basically immediately. Barzilla comes in. Maybe they wouldn't have killed it. I didn't count it up quickly enough in the game. But instead, they put a hurt on Erratic. And we're now in this weird spot where Jin Sting is kind of stranded down here. We have to run away, which is what I end up doing, because we can't stay here. Can't fight things. We're trying to run away with Erratic. But erratic is going to take a month to get back into a decent position. So we're just trying to soften up erratic, soften up some of their forces, but there's not a whole lot we can do. There's not a whole lot we can do. The cassowary was just kind of an arbitrary play. It seemed like the best 2-drop option that I had. Maybe we could have gone Eternal Night and it would have been better. I don't know. We could have also gone double 1s just so that we had a 1 that was out there and then a follow-up 1. I think we only had like Contortio left. I don't know if we had 2 1 keys left. But from this position, for example, we have lost the game at this point, for the record. The rest of the game is just kind of window dressing and we're repositioning and stuff. But basically, it's our opponent's game to lose. They have the majority of the panic points. They are on top of our heart. In fact, if they realized it sooner, they could have just dove us. And there's no way we kill this. We can't get anything into position to hit their other stuff in time. Like, we gave up all of the entire board. We're clustered in this corner. So, without pointing out specific plays from here, honestly, where did we lose this game? I think it was just a conglomeration of mispositioning. The erratic Hevo part seemed egregious, but was it the worst one? No, I think the Murderfly play was bad. That set us up in a bad position. I think erratic was probably not the guy we wanted. I think despite their erratic, the Hevo might have been fine, but we needed more damage. And I think we would have been better off overall if we were refunded these 16 keys between the Hevo and the erratic. And even if we went Stairmaster Cyclops thing, another 5 key, say Miss Moffat, to pull something out of position. Miss Moffat, I considered it during the game, just to get it to displace the erratic, pull it in, or whatever, just so we get extra hits. If nothing else, it zones your opponent and forces them to honor the potential pull. Sometimes not utilizing the pull on Miss Moffat is better than actually pulling. So, this is another game where I think, yes, compared to previous games that I've talked about, where I said, oh, this was a combination of multiple mistakes that were minor and they all added up, and then that caused us to lose the game. There were more sore thumb moments where we had really bad plays, but I don't think they were to the level of some of the other games that I've talked about where it's just, oh yeah, we lost this game because we just let them blow up 15 keys worth of stuff in a turn by accident. I'm just making stuff up, although that's probably happened. This one, I think, was a matter of minor positioning mistakes over the course of the game in conjunction with incorrect phobie choices, both of which are key to winning games. There are other parts as well that are also equally as important, but if you fail in 2 major components of the game, you don't really deserve to win the game. So, that's going to do it for this breakdown, but as always, everybody, thank you for listening, thank you for watching, and Black Lives Matter.